Hey everyone, Gongs here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are watching an SCP Sedition or Sedition, not sure how you pronounce it. Sedition video about SCP-343, and this is tape 1 out of 2, which means this could be a bit of a series. I have no idea. I mean, I can do this for a long time. So, right, forgot about this. So. I might be working on a new gym series. If because tomorrow I go to the gym, work out again. So here's my so yeah, we're gonna be doing SCP-343, aka God, freaking God. This is amazing. We're actually gonna be watching God. Anyways, so let's get started. In 3, 2, 1, go. God, why is it not working? Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, I was supposed to do this. 3, 2, 1. Okay, why is it not working? Screw it, I have to do it by hand. Go.
Come on, watch. Don't keep God waiting.
Oh, whoa, wait.
Whoa, hey,
Wait, what?
All right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Hold on, let me fix that. No, try this again. Now. Oh, but I do not own this. Tad's Top Videos own this. I actually tried applicating for a part in this. They said no. So the content is for mature audiences only. Screw that. We're still gonna be watching this. Yeah, there's all the business stuff, but I have no relation to them. Like no, yeah, nothing. I just talk to them sometimes. Oh, and anyone who's kids, I'm sorry, but if you don't want to see any curse words, you can log out right now. Otherwise, that's the interview room.
Come on, watch. Don't keep God waiting.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy watching him.
Whoa, hey. You alright?
Don't
Okay,
touch
they're
me.
swearing out.
Let's get this over and done with so I can go back to my hole.
If you haven't had enough time to...
It's not the medication, damn it. I just need to breathe.
Already off to a good start.
He won't hurt you.
Yeah? You gonna stop him?
He's not a mindless beast chasing you
True.
down the corridor.
That covers the NTFs at C2. What about the SCPs?
343 at least likes to pretend he's more civilized. You're safe.
My hero.
Quite literally.
Have I arrived late? Or, perhaps...
God.
God, I presume.
In the corporeal.
Wait, what?
A pleasure to meet
What does corporeal mean? I'm gonna have to look all this up afterwards.
And this is my associate.
Ah, yes, Mr. Watchorn. Good to finally make your...
This is how I greet people. Like new people, this is how I greet them.
Likewise.
You've caused quite a stir in the heavenly water cooler.
Jacob and me, we always act alike in this already.
I apologize for the deception. We have no water coolers where I
Screw you,
reside.
God.
It's more of a golden fountain at the end of an ethereal river. It really is.
Okay, no
quite a
need to
sight.
brag.
Not sitting with us, Mr. Jacobs?
Old habits. Prefer to keep my distance.
As you wish. More time to converse with your associate. I was very impressed at your ability to stay out of trouble at, what do you call it? C2.
I wouldn't exactly say staying out of trouble. It was more a trying to stay in one piece kind of deal.
And did you?
Physically.
Before we get started, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Oh.
He's a big boy. All-knowing. No questions to ask.
I would prefer the opportunity. As I understand it, humanity is quite fond of the notion of consent.
I mean, we are,
We're
yeah.
also big on the idea of free will. Isn't that right, Jacobs?
Then what is it you'd like to know, 343?
God, if you'd please.
Sure.
I do find it more suitable than being compared to a used
The
car
SCP-35
salesman.
reaction. Wow.
Sorry. Wasn't personal. Just set it to nudge 035 into...
Your concern is unwarranted. I have been called much
I believe you.
worse.
I've no stake in apologies here.
Oh, you will. We all have something to
I repent nothing of you.
This room requires a more aesthetically pleasing design. I shall return shortly.
This should be fun.
That could have gone better. You're doing okay, just take it easy.
I'm trying.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be hard.
Okay. I'm ready.
Good. Because I'm going to need you to play good cop to my bad cop in this. We've only got one shot at getting the first recorded conversation with this guy, and if we want a clear confirmation as to whether or not he's actually God, we have to work together. Understood?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Try to relax. I doubt he'll throw anything we won't expect.
Gentlemen, shall we begin?
Whoa.
We're ready. Speaking of 035, it claims to also be God. Or at
These
least
are
created
created
by
by.
Zeus, Hephaestus. You
Yes,
get the
yes,
gist.
all 12 of the
Any
main
relation?
gods.
A fool may play the part of God, but beneath the mask, he is still a fool.
True.
That a
Yeah,
confession?
it's a bit, yeah, it's
or-
a more riddle way. A riddle.
I do not deny that there are those in my world who possess powers beyond the capabilities of humanity. Yet, the comprehension is in the eye.
That's a good point.
We believe what we see, but what we see isn't
Yeah.
what we believe.
Seems a bit blasphemous to allow these beings to go about representing you. Couldn't you just, you know...
He's not Darth Sidious, but yes.
Do you spot every fly or crush every ant that pervades your domain? My instructions have always been clear, but it is up to mankind to follow
Oh
those
no,
instructions.
no, don't go that crap.
Oh, so it's our fault.
Right?
A lack of understanding doesn't help.
Assumptions are tools of the uneducated.
Probably could have used some of that knowledge, huh? Might have come in handy somewhere down the line.
Oh, you wish for every charlatan to be punished, then say no more.
I didn't...
Stay back, or Four Eyes gets the sharp end. Well, this
I was in, I.
just gonna...
The Great Pretender.
You stole my line.
Heresy is a crime, punishable by death. But for you, I'll be merciful.
God, be merciful.
It's a fine
Oh,
line between
touching.
pleasure.
What did you do with him?
Put that mask back in its cell!
Once punishment has been concluded, it will be returned. Dio, rejected by God, and beings more deserving of that title than he.
They being...
A tale unworthy of the voice of God.
We'll take it in writing. It must be hard to insist you're the one true God when we have clear evidence to the contrary.
Have I not proven my omnipotence?
Ah, but as you say, belief is in the eye of the beholder. We've got reality benders, physics-destroying, dimension-hopping creatures all over the place. Popping things in and out of sight isn't much comparatively
That
in
is
the way
true.
of proof.
What he means is that in the way of definitive examples of your godhood, creation, heaven, hell, you're a little on the short side.
My abilities are not tokens to be demanded. As it is written,
How convenient.
Much.
as convenient as your foundation, containing the beast that would otherwise wreak destruction upon the world I created from nothing. What if it were gone? Perhaps a change of fate would be enough to satisfy.
Oh,
You wouldn't.
He's bluffing.
What value is there in deception? Is not influencing the path of mankind a godlike
it is.
Then everyone would die. Nothing would be left.
To start from nothing is no new concept to me.
But we are not all of humanity. You can't punish everyone because we don't believe.
Watch makes an excellent point here. But this is a dick move on God's part. I love this betraying him so well. I just read the Christians watching. So, well, continuing.
The desire, however terrible, was not my own. It was yours. Wishful thinking is not one that considers the consequences. That is the difference between a pretender granting wishes and a god who answers prayers.
Okay, no.
Well, if all these other beings are simply posers, then why don't you tell us a little bit about them? Provide evidence of their deception.
Their falsehood is evident in their fallibility. How many cults has your foundation discovered in your observations?
I don't know. Couple dozen?
Too many.
Yet, despite this, their evil remains at bay. Yaldabaoth commands their sacrifice as Paul,
The ancient
demanding
gods,
the
or
destruction of
eldritch.
technology to return my children to.
He's talking about the eldritch gods, and I have studied 11 religions. This is an SCP universe. This is not actual people, or any religion that I've ever studied. But this is in the SCP universe. I know every single one of these eldritch gods, honestly. Yaldabaoth, Kawak, I don't know.
A more primitive state.
Melkane, yeah, that's right.
Alternatively seeks to force humanity into transcending into realms you are far too young to comprehend. A journey you would not survive, nor return from.
That in a spiritual sense?
As for Kahara,
Wait a minute. Wait. Stop. Let me see this. I see a hand and tail. Is that? That was the scorpions there too. What is this guy exactly?
The other name, please.
the Scarlet King
Yes. Oh, yes.
desires only destruction. A futile effort, but a simple one. Your very fear of him brings forth his influence. But what do these three have in common?
Bad dental work?
Amusing. If they were truly gods up to my standing, would they not have already succeeded in their goals?
They're eldritch gods. You might be the actual or believable god, but they are one of the most original of beings in the universe. Karlach was one of the Tree of Life people who... Yeah, I will get into that in another video. The origin of the Scarlet King, I'll get into that.
For what purpose does a god require the services of lesser beings to carry out their design? A desire? I created the universe with no such vessel. My power is absolute.
Surely a god as powerful as that would use
Wait,
their might to
we're,
slay evil.
Even evil deserves the right to free will. To enforce my control to more than an influence would make me, as you say, evil.
Yep.
I do what I must. Their infighting and seclusion are in part a result of my will, but the choices they've made seal their fates.
Yeah.
Which makes tracking your abilities virtually impossible.
The freedom in choice was always designed with the potential of disbelief. But every choice is not without its
True, that's actually very true.
Some you can clearly see, while others, well, are obscure.
Yeah. This is just wisdom at its finest. What are you going back to regular questions?
Were you born into godhood, or did you inherit it somehow?
To be born infers a beginning, which implies an eventual end. Existence and I are inextricably linked.
Well, pardon us for not understanding time as an infinite loop.
Even that is quite an incorrect observation of how I function. But to answer your initial question, the burden of godhood has, and always shall be, my own.
That doesn't answer the question, though. You were born. You're basically saying you were born into godhood. That means you had a beginning, which means you're an eventual end for you. That makes you didn't even answer the question properly. He's just going on the most easiest questions. This is like an actual god in our world, not being straight with us, just riddles and complex clues.
Sorry, excuse for
Oh!
the burden.
Care to repeat that?
Watch is a savage.
You're hardly treating your powers as though they were much of a burden. By your own admission, prayers go
Yes.
unanswered. Free will decides humanity's fate 9 times
Yeah.
out of 10, and the odd exception isn't always your doing. From where I'm standing, it almost seems as though you prance on in, give birth to whatever species you're bored enough to make, then split without consequences.
To view my presence as a luxury shows a remarkable lack of
Oh, screw you.
and the responsibilities of the one true deity.
Yeah, we get the gist of it. You filter the cries for help and keep the boogeyman at bay.
What's confusing is all the things that you've told us so far don't seem to be all that time-consuming. I mean, if eternity's nothing for you, then how is the odd magic trick and bait and switch that strenuous?
Leaders of any kind are faced with decisions that hold vast and uncertain
Yeah, we can name 10 leaders
consequences.
like that.
While omnipotence may grant me the gift of foresight, it does not allow the certainty in the face of free will. That is the penalty for obtaining freedom. The right to do wrong.
Oh, so you admit we are not free? So you admit that we're all just prisoners to you? Great.
To march headfirst into oblivion. I have sworn to never again stand in the way of mankind's ability to choose. And so my decision to act for good could very well tip the scales alternatively.
But what if our collective will is to beg you for help? That's our choice. By that point, you'd be more of an ally than
Oh.
God. Or would that be too much of a step down for you
Whoa.
off that ivory tower?
Respect,
If
respect,
you are
watch.
implying my inaction is not with the best intentions.
Oh, I'd say it sounds more like an abusive partner gaslighting their significant other.
If you ever say it again, Mr. Jacob, I hate, like, whenever anyone says the word abuse, rage mode activates. And I hate going that rage mode. So never say abuse like that again.
You can't create the circumstances of evil, then blame us for it when we don't
Yeah.
clean up the mess.
As I have said, mortal, my efforts are not limited to mere choice. My eyes and ears are spread out amongst the stars.
That's a lot of senses at work. Just how far does your presence spread? How many forms do you take?
Your lifespans would not bless the time it would take to recount.
Figures. Alright. Recent history.
For a time, my presence was more in influence than direct. Visions, images, things that nowadays men use to stray more people from
Yep.
the path. I provided warnings of the future to Nostradamus, whose predictions of history you can attest to being accurate.
More like up to interpretation. You have a bit of a penchant
Yeah.
for that.
Interpretation is the key to humanity's
We have no free.
If you are unable to choose the right paths alone, then that is your cross to bear.
Yeah.
Little on the nose.
In a year's time, Nostradamus predicted that a great plague would befall humanity. Perhaps then you'll believe my word.
Not the pestilence, right?
No. But as with my teachings, humanity will interpret fact over feeling. Even if I were to be blatant in my actions, man is perhaps more ignorant than you give them credit.
I'll say.
There was one account with SCP-187 where she saw you as a little girl. Our staff witnessed you as you are, but she has something of a future sight.
It is not a form I am certain I have been, but if it is in reference to what I am to become,
By implication, somewhat permanently.
perhaps in your future it is possible.
But not certain. To you. Interesting.
That path is determined by you, not myself. The image of a child may yet prove useful in your future, as the forms of others in your past. Soothsayers, mediums, healers throughout history, lost to your time. But for all my efforts, absolution was not to be found.
Then what were you doing in Prague trying to heal the sick?
I had been observing the Foundation for a time, and determined that first contact would be an acceptable risk.
Why? Isn't what you're doing with us direct action?
A hidden organization separated from the majority of mankind, still skeptical of my powers despite
It's not just skeptical, it's more like just disbelief that he's
Speaking
God.
through you would be akin to mere advice, whispers and ripples across the fabric of mankind's development.
We're a way for you to cheat the
Kind of.
system. Little lowbrow for a god, don't you think?
I do what is necessary.
Uh-huh.
The people I healed in Prague were a test of my abilities, drawing your gaze towards me.
Gave us quite the chase tracking you down through the city. Those tapes of you popping up all over the place still crack me up.
That rooftop one still gets me.
Right? And the agent that looks all dumb.
That's actually perfectly in sync.
Are my demonstrations amusing?
Yes, very.
No, your tricks are impressive, but that's all they are.
Yeah.
Tricks. You move things around, teleport, refurnish a room with decor that's so 12th century BC. But where's the big stuff?
Big
What do you mean?
stuff?
Well, you threatened us with total annihilation a couple minutes ago, but can you do the same for yourself? Can God cancel
That's a
himself
very good
out?
question.
Yes.
Oh,
Can you create something or someone more powerful than you?
these are good,
It
these are
is
good
possible.
questions.
But for what purpose would I deem such an act necessary?
Consider it a lesson in the nature of balance. You're sitting on the top of the food chain, which is something I've only considered accurate to 682. Don't you think that perhaps that sort of position clouds your judgment a little?
Oh,
So certain. Then why don't you make a stone appear on this table? Something that you can never pick up.
But why?
Humility. Something to clue you in to what an even playing field is.
I have no use for...
Oh, for crying out.
Your use is exactly the point. We have to deal with creatures that are far more powerful than us on a daily basis, yet you won't bother to lift a finger to help us out. What's the use of free will if we're doomed to die anyway? That's the point. That is the reason. Because maybe the only thing that'll convince you is to feel the same fear we do.
And what fear is that?
The fear of not being strong enough to overcome the
Oh.
impossible. Will you try it, or is the outcome something you're not willing
What?
to face?
I have nothing to prove. Humanity elected pain, suffering, and
Yeah.
fear when they disobeyed my one rule.
I'm assuming the rule of eating that apple.
I have broken no such bargain.
Of course. Only God sets the rules for God.
So certain on that one.
So can you narrow down just how far your omniscience extends?
The lengths of my powers is
Oh,
beyond your
I
comprehension.
got it figured.
Yeah, you guys really love that line. Look, I don't just sit on my ass and pull a Larry King in these interviews, you know. I've done my research. Studied spiritualism, philosophy, astrology, numerology, cultism, cosmology, physics, and metaphysics. I've read tons of theology and religious texts. The Bible, the Talmud, the Quran, Tao Te Ching, Kojiki, everything from the Book of Shadows to the Tipitaka.
I ain't sure what the Book of Shadow was. It's a cult book for rituals. But watch, he studies religions like me, but we don't choose to act on them. He's not real, I am. But so, one thing I know that even fake characters have is free will. So even I don't choose to separate religions, I just follow them.
So yeah, don't think we're quite as dense as we look.
Don't look at me. I actually am as dense as I look.
Then I shall attempt as best as possible. I filter through every corner of creation. My influence is spread across every world, throughout nature, within the very atoms that make up your physical beings. Any lack thereof is dictated by my will, and my will alone.
What benefit does seeing an eighth of humanity do a number 2 at the same time give you?
There are things that I allow individuals to maintain in private, when my presence is not required. My sight does not need to be set everywhere.
And yet you claim to know everything.
Where I choose it to be.
So your own private security monitoring system, potentially anywhere at any time, all at your discretion.
In your terms,
Yeah.
yes.
In my terms, yes. That's a lot of privacy you've invaded. You ever tune into a channel you probably should have left closed?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Watch.
Life is a part of my family.
Even parents give their kids some space to grow. They know when it's best not to be there as much as they know when they're needed. But we've all gotten bored. You ever get bored, God?
No.
No. Never took a peek into the lives of someone and watched them
No.
have some private time?
Same.
About this watch.
I agree.
Oh, so you have looked in on someone you shouldn't have.
That was not what I meant.
Sure it wasn't.
Watch.
Thank
Move
you,
on.
Jacob.
Now we know how your sight works in terms of space, but what about on a temporal level? Are you only able to view the present, or can you also see the past and predict the future?
In a sense. In reality, I've never experienced your concept of time. Such a linear thing, very set in its way. Thin as wind, frayed to an infinitesimal degree. Yet each strand is as unbreakable as the strongest element. But for me, time is simply a location rather than a concept.
Wait, a place for you?
A room with many doors to many places beyond. I can visit them all simultaneously and never have left.
I'd ask if that were overwhelming, but given you've done this all your life, do I call it life?
I haven't much use for a word.
Existence? Presence?
No, Etern?
Latin?
Old English, it's poetic.
Alrighty then. You've done this for your eternity,
Nice accent.
viewing everything that exists, does, has, or will simultaneously. From your metaphor, I assume you also mean alternative timelines that result in parallel universes, or what some refer to as
Multiverse.
the omniverse. Do you exist there too?
Indubitably.
That's a lot to manage. Did you start with just one at first?
Also important, was it ours?
I cannot recall, although I believe it hardly matters at this point. A potential side effect of free will being implemented in your design. To allow the luxury of choice on such a monumental scale require that the consequences of every potential outcome take manifestation.
You mean to tell me that if I decide to drink regular or decaf in the morning, almond or soy, sugar or bitter, each of those results in a new universe being born?
Precisely.
But there must be beyond numbers of them. One person
Now
alone would...
you begin to understand. Although many of these universes have died out, or their potential squandered by wars and disease that have ravaged our life. Once, 2 universes re-emerged since, by sheer coincidence, their alternating paths resulted in a single moment where they overlapped once more.
Then what?
Choice. Division.
Mitosis.
In a sense, the life cycle of the smallest and simplest organisms do somewhat mirror the life cycle of my creation.
That's poetic.
The whole eternity must become quite boring. The circle of life constantly repeating.
I admit a level of discontent.
Yeah, everyone would.
All things considered, and I mean that absolutely, it does feel as though my consistent presence amongst my creations is more a form of habit and necessity than it is out of interest.
Maybe a change of view would shake things up. Let's get hypothetical. What would you do if you woke up one day...
I don't sleep.
Wow.
Same. What would you do if you suddenly found yourself powerless?
You mean human?
Sure.
On a physical level, I would have limited senses at my disposal, numbing me to the ebb and flow of existence. At the same time, what few I retain would be substantially more sensitive to even the slightest stimuli. But on an emotional level, I would know that residing in this corporeal form would only be temporary.
Oh, corporeal means
It would
flesh.
serve no purpose.
Okay, but suppose you didn't. Suppose that for as long as your human life lasted, you would never even know you were God, or that you would return to godhood once you had died. Imagine a 343 with the same restraints and uncertainties that plague humanity. What would you say to that?
Why?
So you can understand what it's like to be human.
I understand humanity.
Yeah, but you don't understand it yourself.
Yes, you understand us. You made us. You study us. You give us what we have. But the barrier still exists. Everything you programmed a human being to be. But you still don't know what it's like to be one. At the end of the day, we're 2 separate entities.
I would have to consider the merit of such action.
Is there anything you'd give your powers up for?
Why do
That is
you
actually a good
ask
question.
this question?
You must have given us the lives you did, made us the way we are. Because you felt this was in some way an improvement over what you had. Maybe we're what you wish you could be.
Oh, you think about it.
No.
What? You're telling me there's no way you'd benefit
I
from them?
said no. My reasons are my own. Proceed.
God got mad. Well, SCP 343, actually.
Why do you insist on coming here? To Earth?
Oh.
Out of the billions of planets you've supposedly created.
Surely there must be more interesting things for you to do or find out there.
I have seen all there is to know.
You didn't fully predict the separation of universes. Maybe there's more unknowns out there in the undiscovered country.
You misunderstand me. I have seen all, past, present, future. If anything unprecedented were to wriggle free at any point, in any time, across all planes of existence, then I would be the first, and most likely only, to know.
If that's the case, then nothing should surprise you. You could predict the future and tell us how to avoid potentially devastating outcomes. Why don't you?
Choice once again rears its ugly head. I not only see the future, but all potential futures.
So you're an upgraded version of Doctor Strange with not a cape, but more of a suit like you're running heaven from a throne room.
I live in them all, but I am uncertain as to which will become your reality until all necessary pieces have fallen into place. Once again, the frailty rests with man.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Watch.
For someone who did everything he could to create us, you sure seem to belittle our existence on the
Yeah.
regular. What about the whole made you in his image thing? You certainly seem to be skirting the definition a bit on appearances alone.
My physical attributes are not tied to my natural form.
Then why the facade? We're all alike here. For the
No.
most part. You know that, I know that. There's no need to play dress up for the lowly mortals.
I prefer this form.
Yeah, of course. Gotta keep some degree of separation. But it just doesn't add up. Why would you make us the way we are, condemn us for taking advantage of the traits we were given, then hang around caring whether we get wiped out or not? It makes no sense.
Humanity is my responsibility. It is not my place to simply stand by nor interfere directly. I must remain.
What'd that mean?
What if we don't need you?
Watch.
Less of us believe in you day by day. You're becoming less and less relevant every day of
It's
your
actually
inaction.
true.
People die,
Yeah.
catastrophes manifest on a daily basis, and new and more dangerous SCPs are born into this world just to add another threat to the overwhelming honeypot that is the apparent death wish of our universe.
Calm down.
And through all that, you can't spare one miserable life. Someone who is supposedly made unto your image. You couldn't care less. An innocent child who can hardly take care of themselves? For what? Preserving the moral fiber of your being? How righteous and godlike you must feel to let the lives of everyone you've created hang at the end of the noose you tied from the first day we were born.
Watch is a savage with this. He's not wrong, not one bit. God creates us and leaves us. And yet some people, and yet this guy pulls up points beyond comparison when it comes to watch. But he's the one that does the whole prayer thing. Not a lot of prayers happen every day. Well, they're all prayers, but not people who get their prayers answered that often.
Do you see me as a fault for a personal slight, Isaac? Do you curse me for the pain you feel?
I'm sure you'd like the idea of living rent-free in your head, but think again. You just seem to be a little too eager to stick around a species that by your own definition as our creator is inferior. Almost like you're envious.
Envious of what?
You claim responsibility for our ongoing survival. You also infer that you exist by nature, across all timelines, all universes. You have no concept of time as we experience it. But that simply means that you have the pressures of an eternity mounting on you at every moment.
What is your point?
Don't you know? You should. You know everything. I think you envy our freedom. Our lives are smaller by comparison, but we aren't beholden to some grand responsibility.
Oh.
We live how we want, we can be what we want. We're not held back by the knowledge of what destiny holds. Our fragility or ignorance or whatever you want to call it is what you want. That's why you designed us this way. We're an imperfect copy of you, because that's the kind of existence you wish you could have.
To live, to die, to sleep. The merit of your argument rests on the idea that I feel I have been robbed of a right I have never known, and therefore can never miss or be envious of. Could any humans miss wielding the power of God when they have never controlled such a thing?
You don't need to have loved and lost to want to feel it. I think you underestimate how many people wish they could have the kind of power you have.
Oh.
Let's move on.
Yeah, awkward silence, best room.
We know that the doctor in charge of your case disappeared shortly after raising concerns about your requests for interaction.
7 minutes left.
Did he? And what was his name?
Don't play dumb with me.
Easy there.
And disappeared is putting it too nicely. A man was wiped from existence while studying you. His associate also vanished shortly around the time of your last visit, a Dr. Leslie Beck.
Ah, a good man. Very well read. Handsome, too.
He never existed either. Not until he took over your file. No family, no forms of enlistment. It's like Beck was dropped in with a pair of divine forceps. Except for some reason we all remember him, but we don't remember his predecessor.
I'm sorry, but is there a question here?
What happened?
The actions of God are not for mankind to question.
That's literally what everything that
as is the
humanity does.
motivation behind them.
Last I checked, the Lord works in mysterious ways didn't get me
Yeah.
out of a parking ticket. You're seriously gonna hide behind that defense?
There are some things humanity is better off not knowing. Truths that expose you to danger or inspire you to seek it out on some misguided voyage.
We lock things up all the time that by all means we should never have known about in the first place. But it's our job, and we're willing to face those consequences.
And yet you still hide their existence from the wider population. Why is that? For your safety or theirs? Humans who seek the truth rarely react appropriately once it has been found.
Yeah.
Many of you try to deny it regardless, while some of you spend your lives lashing out to protect yourself from imagined horrors from around every corner. Truth is trauma for the weak-willed. You think you see it here, but even the Foundation views the truth from behind safety glass and locked doors. Remove that filter, and your minds would break.
Whoa.
You understand. You fear me as much as you hate. Preservation is the only motivation that we truly share. But my reasoning outclasses your own. What your missing doctor failed to understand is that the truths I hold would have destroyed him regardless. Not to mention the catastrophes that would have resulted in passing them on to you.
You're trying to tell me that this was necessary.
I declare that my actions were necessary.
Did he have kids, a family, partner, parents, pets, a freaking bowling team? Did he spend his life doing good deeds or bad? Does it even matter? You took it from him. From everyone. You didn't just kill someone. What you did was worse. And we don't even know how many more there are. We only know about this single person by chance. Your actions erased the consequences of a man in this world. You denied him his choices. That was necessary. But you can't help us for any other reason?
It was necessary.
You could have done anything. You're God, are you not? Erased his memory, teleported away, asked for a damn transfer. Did you think we were gonna deny you?
Isaac, calm down.
No, he doesn't get to get away with this. What kind of irresponsible God would just wave his hand and tear you out of time and space for doing what humans do best? What he designed us to do. Seek the truth.
You are not ready for many of the truths you seek. You think knowledge is as simple to obtain as eating an apple?
These just tape up Adam and Eve. But which one? We still need to question you about that. God.
That is not the whole story. It is merely what I allow you to know.
Then, what happened?
Pain. Suffering. As I predicted. As I warned you. Begged you to trust that you were better off without. You had to be punished for breaking it. Or you would have never learned your lesson.
I think you're the one who hasn't learned a lesson. Just because you may have made us doesn't make us lesser than you.
You think you could handle the responsibilities of a god?
You bet your ass I could if you're anything to judge by.
To believe so demonstrates how ill-suited you are to the task. It proves just how lesser you are.
Eat a dick, asswipe.
Isaac, no! Stop! Stop it!
The selfish delusion of a man, simply and pathetically, You think I do not see the desires that push you to such extremes? I ask of you, if you would be God, what would you do?
Oh.
I thought so. It was obvious from the start. I have unfinished business to attend to. Be sure to see to your own until my return.
What the hell was that?
Hell is right.
Watch. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see if anything happens. Holy crap, guys. We just saw God and Watch get into an argument. Well, or SCP-30, he didn't confirm if he was God or not. Because all he has done is shown proof of his own egoism. That's all I saw from that entire thing was egoism. And I love it. That's amazing video as always. I hope to be able to work with you one day. Oh god, this was fun. Watching everyone just use constant metaphors. I could understand this from their point of view. You mean God's point of view. But I ask of all of you, if you had a chance to ask God just one question, what would that be? Leave a comment down below to give me an answer. Mine would be, why did he create humanity? It wasn't out of curiosity, it wasn't out of interest, it was something personal to him. Well, a better question is, why didn't he just unchain the devil and just let him rule hell freely? So many questions and religions have been unanswered. Yeah, I respect everyone's religion, no matter how much I disagree with a god ruling us. But anyways, guys, I hope to see you all in the next video. Leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more SCP Sedition reactions. Onyx out.